Welcome back to Golden Rule Radio. We're seeing the pullback that we've been expecting in gold, but I don't think it's finished. We've seen about a $10 to $12 decline from the $12.95 range down into the $12.80s, low $12.80s today. Silver's doing about the same, pulling back. Platinum's pulling back as well and testing the previous lows, while palladium continues to be the winner.
Sure, we're definitely seeing that pattern in gold, silver, and platinum breaking, at least gold and silver, as you mentioned, breaking below those trend lines. Platinum, as you mentioned. And, you know, we had a great show with Rob last week kind of talking about the historical levels in platinum. So it is fascinating to see as it plays around that bottom level where it's going to find that final bottom and make its turn. And as you mentioned, palladium, I think breaking above 1400. So I know last week I threw out a potential high point on palladium up in the low to mid 14s. So maybe another drive or two here, as palladium has definitely gone the way of Bitcoin a few years ago and looks very parabolic.
The other three metals that are pulling back, gold, silver, and platinum, are moving counter to the US dollar. The US dollar has been strong relative to almost all the major currencies, except for what? The pound? The pound is rallying with this Brexit talk, and that may be counter to what a lot of people would normally think, but the pound is rallying, the dollar is strengthening as well, and then the metals are pulling back.
Sure, pound up, euro down is definitely counter to what I think a lot of people, both here and in Europe, would have expected with the Brexit conversation last week. So euro down, dollar up, pound up more, which is what Robert's talking about. And the dollar continues to surprise, because I think there are a lot of people out there talking about the dollar rolling over. I continue to argue dollar's going to 100, at least on the index, over the next couple of months, followed by the ultimate reversal back down. I mean, that's the point. I just think the short-term high point is a little higher than where we're at now, but ultimately we're looking at some really tumultuous days for the dollar in the coming years.
Yeah, so the previous high on the dollar being 103, you don't think we're going to go up and violate and break to a new high. You're just saying from about 96 where we are, it has some room to get stronger, come into the 100 range and kind of form a head and shoulders top, right? That's what you're saying?
Yeah, I definitely think it's likely.
Yeah, I would agree. We'll see. You know, it's at this turning point. We've been talking about this 96, 97 level. Needs to go one way or another. And I think time will tell. Just like with the gold and silver prices, it still has some room to come down, which would be healthy for the market because of this nice run. So this is a good opportunity with it pulling back into the mid 1200s. I think with gold, good opportunity to be coming into the market before it heads higher.
Robert, I'm glad you brought gold back up, because I think it is important to look at what corrections actually mean on a grander scale, not just specific to the metals or any individual stock or commodity, but what the purpose of a correction is. And it really is cleaning out trade orders out of the market and building new bases. So we expected to see a correction. We talked about it about 2 weeks ago. For me, it is actually good to see gold pulling back here some. It can build that next base. And we do have some fib levels below us we've talked about in the mid 1200s, where we should see that reversal and continuation back up. That I think is ultimately here going to test the 1350, 1360 highs we've had in recent past. So don't get concerned with corrections. Trading is all about trends and watching where those trends are going, and then looking for these pullbacks as entry opportunities into the precious metals or any other commodity or equity you may be looking at investing some money into.
So while we're making predictions on the show with gold pulling back into the 1200s, the dollar possibly rallying a little bit from here, I'm going to make a prediction for this year and going forward somewhat indefinitely, and that would be the use of the internet and how dependent a lot of companies are on the use of the internet. To back that up, look at all the data breaches that have happened, and one of the largest ones in history just a couple weeks ago.
All right, Robert, I'm going to jump in here. You know, I really want to point out the fact that, one, okay, I agree with you. All right. Two, we are seeing this increase with frequency and enormity, right? So they're getting larger, 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 and we're getting numb to them now, right? And with the advent of social media and that compiling your data and your identity details, we're going to see it continue to grow. So I think that's an excellent, safe prediction. I'm going to go a little bit further and say that it's going to be worsened by the era of digital currency. And that's going to include cryptos. Okay. We also saw the largest single theft in the form of a crypto steal that exceeded almost $500 million. So that being said, why do you own gold? You know, this kind of goes hand in hand. Bill King brought up 4 reasons this week of why you own gold in the current market. And I'm going to segue here a little bit too. I love the technical analysis, and you guys tease me for being the fundamental guy. But the spot price to me is good for entry points. Other than that, I really don't care. I really have to look at the fundamentals. And here's Bill King saying 4 primary reasons right now that you own gold. All right. One is the social media cultural poisoning and the identity risk, right? 2, the political environment. It's never been nastier, okay? 3, this proposal on this perjury probe on Kavanaugh, they start messing with the Supreme Court and the balance of powers, all right, is a huge reason to own gold. And 4 is this huge socialist wave that's building momentum. Where Bernie Sanders left off 2.5 years ago is now the new starting point. And people are being accused of not being socialist enough as they come out and announce their presidency. So look, the cryptocurrency makes me nervous. I had a broker come to me and say he's got a client that works in that world. And he goes, you know, I don't understand. He goes, for us, the death of the dollar is a foregone conclusion. We're already planning for it. We already are assuming that the cryptocurrencies are going to replace the US dollar. So that's where we're headed. And we're already talking about a socialist economy, and we're talking about a cashless society. So why in the world wouldn't you be stocking up on ounces and buying every single one of Miles' dips?
You know, Tori, Bill King is completely right. I mean, just look at the geopolitical events taking place right now.
Well, that's what it always ends up being, right? Economic turns into financial problems, which turn into political problems, which then advance into geopolitical problems. So when you have, like at Davos right now with these world billionaires meeting, and Seth Klarman, this billionaire hedge fund manager, says, hey, you know, to everybody there, rising debt levels and global tensions are signaling major political divides, which signal economic downturn. Well, that's that spectrum that we've talked about at McAlvany Financial Group for decades, right? Well, it's going on right now in modern day Venezuela. We've talked about them on this show repeatedly and what an ounce of gold is worth in that type of an economy. So economic leads to financial, which leads to political, right? And now you have a geopolitical event in the form of a coup in 2019. So if you're wondering why you own gold, that's why you own gold.
So that's going to about do it for us this week at Golden Rule Radio. We thank you for tuning in. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to engage in the comments. Click the subscribe button, ring the bell, and then head on over to our website, McAlvany.com, Twitter @ICA Gold, Facebook, McAlvany Financial, or call us anytime at 1-800-525-9556.
Thanks for listening. Have a good week.